and that he still was such a caring and giving guy, even though, you know, in business sometimes you have to do things you don't like to do, and a lot of people had done things to him that I personally didn't think that were nice or morally moral or ethical, but he took it all in stride, and he moved on and he moved past it, and he said, I'm not going to let people like this bring me down.
As a go-getter, James never rests on his success. At the age of 21, he decided to go against all odds and join an industry that is reserved for very few.
Well, I had a dream. I had a dream to start a credit company. I had a dream to inspire people and empower people. And I really had a dream to help middle class, working class people make money. That's what I'm about.
James took his business plan to his then stockbroker in an effort to get him to raise more money for him.
I approached him about this business I wanted to start, this credit company, payday lending, credit counseling business. And I said, this is what I want to do. You know, could you raise money for me? And he said, yeah, James, I can raise money for you, definitely, but let's do a deal first. And so I did his deal, no questions asked, because I believed in and trusted in him.
After reviewing the business plan, his stockbroker had a message that James wasn't ready to hear.
Actually said, no, James, I can't help you, I'm not interested. I don't believe that a 21-year-old can be a banker. And my reply to him was, hey, Paul, I don't believe a 4-year-old can be a stockbroker. If you're a 4-year-old stockbroker, how come you're not retired by now if you're that good?
Like in the past, James didn't let his stockbroker bring him down. He turned to his longtime friend for help.
Basically, James gave me a call, and he had asked me, you know, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, well, nothing much. He goes, can you meet me in an hour? And I was like, okay, sure. So we met up at the Chinook Mall.
He presented the business plan to her and asked something that would be considered impossible to many.
And I asked her, I said, Amy, would you be willing to leave your job at the banking industry, making tons of money, to come on to my little startup credit company and take a huge pay cut and work with me?
She gave him a response that would take James to the next chapter of his life.
I didn't doubt me for a second, and I just said, count me in, and basically went from there.
James started the campaign to raise money for his new credit company. Maria is one of the first few people that invested money in him.
Our friends met on the internet, and then they introduced us because he had something to offer, and we're always putting things together. So these people introduced us because they just thought we'd get along, and we're really entrepreneurial. And so James comes over and pitches us his Can-Am Credit Corporation, his private placement offer. And I just loved it. He was hilarious. He would say, like anything from dirty jokes, like you don't even know the guy, and he's in here just having a great time. We're laughing. We never met each other like more than 10 minutes ago. I ended up writing a check, and my husband wrote a check too, so we both invested into him quite well.
It was his character and personality that led James to raise an amount not known to his age group.
The first year, between October 31st and December 31st, 2006, I raised roughly $2 million, actually 1.8 to be precise, and that's how we started our business.
His dream to help people would finally realize. James' success was the talk of the national media.
The elegance and success we had at Can-Am was instant. We were featured on a big breakfast television on 8 Channel here, a local TV station in Calgary. We were featuring the Business Edge across Canada. We were numerous times at the Calgary Sun. I was awarded Calgary Businessman of the Year from the Calgary Sun, top 40 under 40, featuring the Calgary magazine. And we had so much hype and publicity and stuff. I never thought anything could go wrong. We did super well. We were doing good numbers. We started an American payday lending division. We started a credit counseling company. It was going really good.
A few months later, his then CFO would approach James with an acquisition proposal that would take him in the other direction.
The deal that got me to the most trouble, that I thought was going to be the most inspiring and empowering deal of a lifetime, was a company called Canada Debt Assistance here in Canada. Now, I was presented the deal by my financial advisor, or CFO at the time, Can-Am, R. Smiley, we'll call him, R. Snell.
James was skeptical of the acquisition proposal. He asked his CFO to do due diligence. the CFO came back with a presentation that would eliminate all doubts.
It was a golden deal, a golden ticket deal. The company supposedly had 18 locations, it had several hundred employees, it was doing great revenues. It was just a great deal, and it was, wow, I'm 21, going on 22, and I'm going to acquire the largest, what I thought was the largest debt counseling company in Canada. Nevertheless, we acquired the deal shortly after my CFO started with me.
Maria and the other board of directors quickly realized what had just happened in their company.
The people that sold it to us, sold us CDA, just had like a time bomb in there for the program to explode, and they knew exactly what was going to happen.
Shortly after the acquisition, the bombs, as Maria described them, started exploding.
The same day that we acquired it, on May 1st, the two top managers held us ransom. They had a software program that was supposed to be part of the purchase called DADS, and they basically extorted me and said, you know, you owe us money for program updates, or the previous owners did, but of course we bought the shares.
Halloween 2007 would really be a scary one for James White. He discovered that CDA was a bad business deal. His CFO, whom he trusted so much, had just betrayed him. All the money and the relationships that James had worked for his entire life started disappearing right before his eyes.
When I found out what happened, my CFO said we were bleeping broke, and that's all I could think about. I started crying, I was stressed out, I didn't know what to do. We ended up being about $900,000 short that he took. So I felt terrible. I didn't know what to do. I went into shock, and I backed myself into a wall, and I got really bad. I stopped working out.
His behavior changed. He wasn't the same person anymore. And everyone around him noticed.
It was just really disheartening. James felt betrayed. His trust, like, for a lot of people were gone. He started wondering, like, who else is doing what, you know? And, I felt really bad for him, and we kept in good contact, but I know that he ended up, like, not talking to a lot of his friends because of that. Because he didn't know who to trust, who to bring onto the team, because we just had to clear out a whole bunch of dead weight.
He was devastated at the fact that he had to go and personally tell his investors that they had invested money with him, who in turn had invested money into purchasing this company that was it was failing. There was nothing they could physically do to keep this company alive.
Amy, who left her well-paying job at the bank for James, just witnessed their dreams collapse.
It was basically pretty devastated. We literally seen our dreams sort of falling apart, and especially coming from where we were less than 8 months prior to that, things was on a high and everything was looking good, and then in just a matter of a short period of time, things just got bad, and James was totally devastated. I mean, even to the point, especially when he found out about the person whom he trusted, we trusted, to basically guide us on the financial end of things with this. He was pretty devastated, almost to the point that he's crying.
James, who is loved by many for his warm personality, was nowhere to be seen. His phone was shut off for days. Susan became worried.
He did become very depressed. He wasn't the same James. He wasn't the go-getter, happy-go-lucky guy that he normally was. He tended to shut off his phone and not answer his phone a lot, which is normally not James. He didn't smile as much. He didn't laugh as much. He didn't socialize as much.
James experienced failure for the first time in his life. Failure which was not initiated by him, but by people whom he trusted and thought were working on behalf of the middle class that James had long wanted to help. In December of 2008, James sold his remaining shares in Canam Credit Company and moved on with his life. James is a new man and has opened a new chapter in his life. He has put history behind him and is now emerging even stronger than before.
He went through that stage of learning that sometimes things don't work out, and now he is. He's getting back to normal. He's chipper again. He's out socializing. He's out getting investors again. He's on to bigger